Okay, I will record this section. So for today's lesson, I will cover on the total quality management standard ISO 9000 and ISO 10006. And I will also show you the ISO 9000 2015 document so that you get some idea about what is the document for ISO audit. These are the statements among statements about what is the relationship between ISO and total quality management. But in a nutshell, I can say that because of some society or industry, they don't have a quality culture. So in order to have that, it couldn't be by overnight. You need a process, you need a phases. So by having ISO, actually, this can help our company to instill the quality culture, the quality practices. Because ISO 9000 was developed based on the total quality management construct. For example, ISO 9000 2015, the first one is the customer focus. If we were to compare with Macomb-Bridge framework, they put leadership as number one, while Deming Prize Award policy is as the first. However, ISO, they put customer focus as number one. And then there are another variables or criteria after those. So if our society or our company do not have that practices towards implementation of quality, so if we were to prepare ourselves for the audit for ISO, then actually we are opening the opportunity or developing a road towards implementation of total quality in our organization. But of course, it should be a continual effort where even after an audit, we should, as much as possible, as managers or as management, we should, as much as we can, to sustain the practices. So if we manage to sustain the practices, then inshallah, the total quality environment, the total quality culture practices will be sustained in the organization that is in line with the requirement for ISO 9000. So if you look at here, it is listed there. The relationship between ISO and TQM. The first one is not completely interchangeable because it is, if we want to have the total quality management, we can begin with ISO. It is compatible with and can be subset of TQM. Actually, if you look at to the construct of total quality management, certification of standards is one of them. It's one of the construct. But in order to get ourselves certified for this, we have to fulfill the requirement or the element of TQM. because it's very hard to get TQM environment in our organization. So since we do not have TQM, so why don't we try to start to begin with ISO? And after that, we sustain. So by implementing this, at least we can improve the operation because we have to follow the criteria under the ISO. Definitely, it may redundant in the mature TQM environment. If the company already a TQM company, they will find it is redundant because ISO will address the TQM as well. But for the company that has no TQM environment, what we call it caca berba, they do not have the system at all. So why do we implement ISO? So that we can have the system, we can have the proper work process, at least we have the proper guideline, we have the proper documentation, we have proper how we attend customers, procedures, and so on. So ISO is a way for the implementation of TQM. So we can say that ISO and TQM are not in competition because they are complement each other. If our environment, we don't have the culture for total quality management, why do we start with ISO? Slowly, they will adapt. And definitely because the requirement of the audit, so everyone has to follow that. But at least on the documentation, on the work process, at least we have put the process clear and we have the document. Then of course, after we finish the audit, we have to try as much as possible to sustain it because we are going to have the complete conformant audit after that. However, the origin of ISO 9000 and total quality management are vastly different. ISO was developed in response to the need of harmonized dozen of national and international standards relating to quality. Because before this ISO 9000 was developed, there are too many what we can say standards, quality standard that varies from country to countries. And some national, they have different standard in different states. So ISO try to harmonize. They try to set one international standard for quality management. And it was started by Dr. Deming in 1950s, where Dr. Deming introduces statistical quality technique. And he also introduced work processes in 1950s. That was the start. And Dr. Deming taught the industry to map the processes, to document the processes, the procedure for the processes. And then it was disseminated all over the world. So the purpose of ISO is to enable organization to better serve the customer. If you look at to the construct, later on I will show you the construct for ISO. The first one is customer. So that by focusing to the customer, they can be more competitive because companies that is awarded accredited ISO, they will try their best to adhere to the standard as listed in the ISO. These are among motivation why companies would like to implement ISO. Maybe they want to improve their operation. Previously, they do not have the proper system, but they try as much they can to have the system, to have the process flow, but very hard to sustain. So why don't they take ISO as a standard, and maybe ISO as the govern standard for them to follow the procedure, to have the process map, because they are going to have conformant audit after that. So they have to follow. So if they don't have that, maybe they are going to fail for the conformant audit. So by following that, they can improve the operation. And by implementing ISO can help them or to help them to create the quality management system, QMS, to improve the consistency of quality, to reduce the variation. Because ISO can control them. ISO can control the organization. Because in some society, they very hard to be controlled. So let ISO control them. But if in Japan, maybe they do need this because their people can control themselves for consistency of quality. They can control themselves for having the standard, quality standard. And it will drive to the customer satisfaction because the first item in the ISO is customer. And another construct in the ISO document is to fulfill the needs of the customer. And of course, when the customer happy, satisfied, it open to the competitive. The company can become more competitive. And of course, when we want to fulfill the customer satisfaction, by implementing ISO, we can conform to what the customers want. So if we implement ISO properly, it can motivate us for the implementation of TQM, and it can motivate us for the continual improvement of our organization as well. So this is ISO for project management. ISO for project management. They provide guidance. ISO in project management, you have ISO 10006 2017. It's provide quality management guideline for quality management in project. This is also a subsidiary standard for ISO 9001 2015 that I will show you after this. And you also have ISO standard for project management 21500 2012. This is a guidance on project management. Then also I think you are familiar with the PM book and so on. What is inside the ISO 10006 2017? This is for project management. It shows the management responsibility for quality. Again, leadership. This is in line with Dr. Deming, in line with my Cambridge, and also Deming Prize Award. And it also encompasses the resource management. How do you manage your resource? Product or service realization towards fulfilling the customer needs. And definitely, as mentioned by Dr. Deming, many companies full of data, but they full of information. So they want to see the measurement, analysis, and improvement as well. So the quality management system in project should encompass of project characteristic, the quality management principle, quality management process, and quality plan for project. So I think you are pretty familiar with the PM book. So what is the comparison between ISO 10006 to PM book? In terms of project, they have the similar definition. But quality plan is more succinct in ISO. But ISO emphasized on the alignment with the strategy because in the earliest part of the documents, they talk about strategy of the company and how you align your strategy towards the customer satisfaction, customer needs. So this is the different. ISO focus on customer, but PM book focus on the stakeholder. That's the difference. Focus stakeholder, customer focus. Because number one under the ISO is customer. But ISO focus on the mutual benefit supplier relationship because it is customer. It emphasizes on the management involvement in the quality of the project. And in the ISO, they group into 7 processes. But in PM book, 5 processes. So basically, ISO 10006, we can use this for the auditing a project, but PM book kind of cumbersome for that purpose. I think you are more familiar with the PM book in the project management. So if you want to go towards globalization of the project management practices, maybe you can consider ISO 21500 as well. But PM book 6th edition is closely follow this ISO standard 21000, just minor different in the terminology. However, ISO standard also complement to other standard, for example, Prince 2, ICB 3, and so on. So this is some explanation on it. So what is ISO 21500 that I mentioned just now? This is for universal project management principle and processes. And it shows high-level concept and process for good practice of project management. And it also encourages knowledge transfer between project and organization, consistent in terms of the project management technology, and provide project management flexibility to work and international project. So this is the difference between what is project management, what is quality management. I think you are really familiar with this because you are doing a master in project management. But in this course, we focus on the quality management. From the previous class, I think I have talked about definition of quality management, quality guru, international aspect of the quality management, and so on. But in the later parts, towards the end of this course, I will cover on the control processes. And I will introduce some tools for the continuous improvement because this tool will improve the quality implementation or quality improvement in your organization. So we focus on controlling the process. We use tool for continuous improvement, and this will result to minimize the variation and make the customer happy. and everything that we provide to the customer will conform our promise. The purpose of quality improvement is to fulfill what we promise to the customer. For example, if the dimension is 10 millimeter, with tolerance maybe plus minus 0.05, so we conform to that dimension, for example. If we promise our customer that the house that we are built can complete within 1 year, so we conform to the promise, we can hand over the key to the customer before 1 year. That's the quality management purposes. We ensure we meet the promise, meet the requirement. Requirement is our promise to the customer based on our charter, based on our agreement with the customer. That's quality management. But project management is actually a process to fulfill what we promise to the customer. On the how to aspect, it is complement to each other. Quality management encompasses to the promise to the customer, what the customer expect. So how to is on the project management. As you see here, establish, follow processes. Critical path method, for example, we know which one is the critical activities. And when we have slack, maybe delay or something, so which critical path? Definitely the critical path will change if you remember CPM, critical path analysis. So in project management, you are managing that in order whatever happen, any variation, any noise factors happening during construction, for example, now in pandemic, you can consider this is uncontrollable incident. We can consider this as noise factor as well during the project management. So you know how to mitigate this, and maybe you already put this into your risk, and this what happening now maybe increase the cost of the project as well, and also maybe the risk is you have shortage of manpower. So how you are going to manage this in order to meet the customer's requirement? However, because project management focuses on yes, it is to meet the requirement, but it's on how to actually project management focus on the shareholder, because they want to secure the shareholder. If the project delay, then the project cost will increase, and finally they don't get their profit margin. And also in the project management, they identify the requirements. But whatever it is complement to each other because of the customers. Maybe project management talk about the profit to the stakeholder, but at last, the purpose is to meet customers' requirement. In quality management, there are 3 aspects actually in quality. First is quality management itself. Second is quality assurance. And the third one is quality control. These 3 things is very important, and it should complement to each other. Quality management is the managing the organization towards the quality, towards ensuring that we are providing what customer expecting as we promise, and we control the influence of variation due to the noise factor to the process or services, so that we can deliver what we have promised to our customer. That is quality control. So the quality assurance is to assure that what we promise the customer will get. So as I mentioned before, in our delivery to our customer, we have a control factor that is a variable that affect to our delivery to the customer. For example, your control factor. I'm giving you again parcel delivery. What is the control factor for the parcel delivery? Maybe a distance. Because longer distance, maybe the parcel has to stop at multiple hub. And then maybe the control factor is the volume of the parcel. There are dense area and low density area in terms of amount of parcel. And maybe the control factor is the weight or size of the parcel. Those are the control factor. And the noise factor is something that disturb or makes our promise to the customer is not successful. For example, for for parcel delivery, we promise our customer maximum by 48 hours, they will receive the parcel. So what prevent the customer from receive the parcel in 48 hours after the sender deliver the parcel? That is a noise factor. Maybe the weather. Maybe could be the noise factor. Or what else? So we have to find out from our data, we have to find out from our record, we have to find out what factor that prevents the successful of that 48-hour delivery. That's noise factor. So in quality assurance, actually, we should have tools to help us to design our system or processes to fulfill what or to assure that we met the requirement. The quality assurance should include tools that normally the tool is the 7 quality tool that we will learn in the next lesson. We use tools to help us to minimize the influence of the noise factor that I mentioned before for ensuring the requirement or promise to the customer is met. And of course, in order to assess the robustness of our system that we have designed, the processes that we have designed, the robustness towards control factor to the noise factor, we have to evaluate the result. For example, we can use probability tests. In the next lesson, I will teach you how to do the probability. For example, based on data, we already have the duration and time when the customer when the seller dispatch their parcel and when the customer receive the parcel. So the duration of that, we call it turnaround time. So how long? How many hours? So we have collected the data. So from that data, we can use the normal distribution probability. We can do the probability test. What is the probability that the customer get the parcel after 48 hours? So from that data, we can get the probability. So it helps the management to decide whether You want to improve your service, or you want to postpone or delay your promise instead of 48 hours, maybe to 48 plus 24 hours, 36 hours, maybe. Sorry, 46 plus 54 hours, maybe. So that's how we use quality tool and statistical tool for the quality assurance. The purpose of quality assurance is to assure our promise to the customer. And after we have designed the quality assurance in our organization, then we have evaluate the result using statistical analysis. Then we have to control it, or we have to monitor it. Maybe we can use, the easiest way is to use statistical process control that we will learn in the later class. We use the SPC, we know the mean based on our previous data, then we have the limit, upper limit and lower limit. Then in every single delivery, we record the duration. So from there, we can do the control. If anything happened to the delivery, for example, if anything happened to the duration that is outside the limit, we have to find out the corrective action. So maybe in the control, we can use 5 why and 1 how technique in order to find the 1 how is to find the solution to the delivery. So that's on the quality control. And in this quality management, we can implement what we call, definitely we have to implement, not we can implement, we have to implement the PDCA. We have to implement the PDCA. We have planned this. We have planned for the quality assurance. We have planned that. Then we have the result based on our data. We have evaluated the result. We have verified the result. So in the implementation, maybe there are a noise factor that we didn't realize during our quality assurance plan. Again, on the parcel delivery. Initially, we never talk about pandemic. So maybe the noise factor just whether maybe the traffic and so on. But now we have pandemic. There is a new noise factor that we never thought before. So it affects our plan, affects our do. Based on our plan, we have done this. We have done the plan. And now we start with the pandemic. The parcel delivery no longer able to deliver as promised. So there is check. So when we check, we have to make some improvement on our quality assurance. Wow, we got one new noise factor, that is pandemic. What is the effect of this pandemic? You have to evaluate the risk. Risk, parcel delivery, we cannot meet the promise. Then we have checked our data. How about the probability parcel delivery late after 48 hours? Based on data, maybe March to April. 60% receive their parcel after 48 hours. This is not good. So why do we improve this? So that we can become more competitive. We can get trust from the customer. Maybe during this pandemic, other parcel delivery, they cannot fulfill that as well. So we have to think about how. So we have to analyze the 5 why customer didn't get the parcel before 48 hours, why. Then the last why, HY, the last why, we have what is the last why, then we find out the how to solve this, the countermeasure. Maybe we have to employ, now the opportunity is many people are not working, they're being laid off, so they need job. We open for part-timers based on number of parcel they deliver, maybe. So we have made the improvement for this in terms of assurance. So we, on the act, ACT, sorry, bad writing. On the act, we should improve our process because we find a problem, a new variation, a new control factor that increase our variation. So we modify our plan. We get back here. That's PDCA. We improve the process. Remember, Dr. Deming always said, when we have problem, that's not the fault of the labor. That's the fault of the management because there is a gap in the process. So gap in the process because we don't have enough manpower. So we do the SWOT analysis, SWOT, SWOT. On the O side is the opportunity now. We have many unemployed people. So why don't we pay them for part-time to help us to deliver what we promised to the customer? So that's how the example, how we use the PDCA. Then we improve the assurance. Of course, we have to monitor the data. If you remember, every parcel delivery, they will record when you receive the parcel. So we monitor again whether we have improved or not. So besides control factor, quality control to tell us that we have problem on our deliverable to the customer, it tells us also whether what we have improved in the PDCA is actually we have improved. That's on the quality assurance versus quality control. In general, we can say that quality assurance is to prevent the failure, but quality control is to monitor that we didn't fail in meeting our customer needs. And the third one element in the quality improvement is the quality management. So beside these two, we have quality management applied to entire organization. For customer continuous improvement, empower employee, benchmark with the competitors. In the next class, I will teach you on the quality function deployment. So I will show you how do we benchmark there based on what customer expect from us. Just in time, because we want to eliminate waste. So we produce what is needed, when it's needed, in the amount of needed by the customer. And of course, we customer focus. So in general, total quality management principle should be part of the project management principle. And quality management covers beyond the project boundaries. And it close alignment or synergy with requirement of PMI, Project Management Institute, and ESQ is the American Society for Quality it shows a close alignment, because the only objective for these two is to fulfill the deliverable to the customer. Okay. Okay. This is Malaysia standard ISO 9001:2015 quality management system requirements, second revision. I'm sorry about this watermark, because I got that from the library. Otherwise, I have to buy by my own. Library, even UTM library also provide this document, but students have to request from the librarian. Okay, this some on the development of Malaysia standard. We have in Malaysia, we have Department of Standard Malaysia that manage the Malaysia standard MS. This is MS ISO 9001:2015. Malaysia standard developed through consensus by community, which comprise balanced representation of producer, user, consumers, and others in relevant areas, and so on. You can read by your own. Before I go further on this, for Malaysian particularly, you may be confused with the SIRIM standard. Before we have Department of Standard Malaysia, of course, SIRIM is the government body that give a certification to the products or companies. But after they have Department of Standard Malaysia, and SIRIM is the company, actually, SIRIM Berhad, this is the government linked company. So Department of Standard Malaysia has appointed SIRIM as an agent to develop, distribute, and sell the Malaysian standard. They are no longer the what we call it, a department that control the standard. They just develop, distribute, and sell the standard. And maybe they can also provide training for the company. But the government body that controls standard is Department of Standard Malaysia. This shows here the address. And what is the context in the ISO 9001? It is shows in the table of content here. Leadership, planning, support, operation, performance evaluation, and definitely in any audits, we should show our CQI, continuous improvement, continuous quality improvement in the document. Okay, what else? ISO 9000 2015 for the quality management system for the main. Okay, then this document replaced the 9001-2008 quality management system first revision. Okay, it is there, and this is some introduction. What is quality management? As usual, they tell us the description of it. Potential benefit to an organization implement quality management standard based on this international standard are, this is the benefit: ability to consistently provide product, service, meet customer and applicable statutory and regulatory requirement, facilitate opportunity to enhance customer satisfaction, again, customer. Risk, risk is very important, because in our previous discussion also we talked about risk. Although it is just parcel delivery, but the risk is customer didn't get the parcel, or maybe parcel missing and so on. So we have to do the risk assessment as well. So in the quality management, we have to show how we do the risk assessment. The method, maybe we can use FMEA, failure mode effect analysis. Then we count the risk priority number. Maybe that's one method for the risk assessment. There are many methods actually. And we can demonstrate the conformity for the specified quality management system and used by internal or external parties and so on. And this is the following verbal form. Shall means required. Shall means wajib. We have to fulfill that. That is the requirement. In any standard document or audit document, or if you are the auditor, you have to be very careful when you want to use word shall. Shall. Shall means a requirement. But should is your recommendation. What is the difference between requirement and recommendation? Can anyone answer me? What is the difference between requirement and recommendation? Please, anyone? Anyone? Salim?
Yes, doctor.
What is the difference between requirement and recommendation?
Requirement is actually about what the customer is asking to provide, but the recommendation is the feedback, like it's look like feedback.
Okay, thank you, Salim. And the rest, what's your opinion about the difference between requirement and recommendation?
Requirement is mandatory.
Mandatory, yes, I like the word mandatory. Recommendation?
Is a alternative.
Alternative, or maybe a recommendation for the quality improvement.
Yes.
CQI. A requirement is the area of concern, or it relates to the non-compliance. NC, right? Non-compliance.
Yes, yes.
Anything that is non-compliant, we put shall. You shall follow the standard of what? Maybe for the education, audit the academic program, the higher education provider shall comply to the standard of the engineering academic program standard based on MQE document, blah, blah, blah. Should, maybe, in order to address the student needs, the university or the higher education provider should offer more online classes to address the needs or difficulty to the working student. Maybe should. Should is the should. If in the audit, if we have shall in the report, in the exit report, it shows that non-compliance means we might be not getting the accreditation or not getting the audit pass. And what is may? May means permission. And can indicates a possibility or capability. May, when we want to request from someone, and when we want to address the capability, we use word can. This is very important verbal keywords in the ISO document, as well as reports by the assessor. This is something on the quality management principle. Again, as I mentioned, customer focus. Second, leadership. If you still remember in the previous lecture when I taught you on the international quality standard, I spoke about Macomb-Bridge. Macomb-Bridge, the first one is a leadership. Deming, the first one is a policy. Then we have debated that. Why Deming put policy number 1? Why Malcolm Bridge put leadership number 1? Remember, Deming said, everything must come from leader. All the quality guru have agreed that the implementation of quality management, quality improvement should come from the top. And the top will bring to the bottom, and it should be company-wide. But if you remember in the previous lecture, I mentioned that for ISO, they're not putting leadership or policy as number 1, but they put customer focus. Why customer? Because the purpose of quality is to fulfill what we promise to the customer. We promise is the requirement of the customer. I use word promise. So promise. If we do not keep the promise, we will lose the trust from the customer. So what happened? The customer will go to another provider, will go to another company that can provide their satisfaction. And who should think about that? Is the leadership. But customer is the one who give revenue to the company. But leadership is the one who should make sure that company, if we want to relate with it, company can provide what we shall provide to the customer. We shall, not we should, we shall provide to the customer. And then in order to have this engagement of people, engagement of internal customer with the management, as well as the external customer, that is our customer in the market. How do we engage that? If you remember on the case of Toyota in 1990s, they want to be number 1 in the world. So they forget about engagement, which they have, that was their strength. And what happened to them? They have quality problem. So it shows that, it's proof that engagement with people is very important. Problem in many organizations is information deliverable from top to bottom. How we want to disseminate the information? Information, knowledge is very important. Like what mentioned by Dr. Deming, we as manager, we cannot just ask them to do work. If we ask them to do work, to do what we want them to do, without telling them how to do, how, the H aspect, maybe they're not going to do the work, or maybe they fail to provide what is expected because of poor training. And we cannot expect everybody knows what we know. So that's why engagement is very important. The aspect of engagement is to share the information. Same goes to the customer. When we talk about total customer experience, so how we bring our customer to get involved with us in terms of the quality improvement. Many hotels industry nowadays, they start to engage their customer, and in return they give some benefits to the customer maybe. And 3M company has done it long time ago. They have their focus group among their customer. Definitely have to pay the customer for having the workshop, brainstorming session, and so on. And finally, with the help of the customer, they managed to get a couple of breakthrough innovation based on customer feedback. And then they managed to get the focus group customer to help them develop the proof of concept for the breakthrough innovation initiated by the customer. And process approach. Dr. David always said, when we have problem, then when it should the solution of the problem should based on data, based on fact, based on information. Data has to be converted into information. And when we have problem, we have to check on the process approach. Whether we have flaw, we have gap in the process. Then with the PDCA approach that I've mentioned just now, on the alignment, on the check steps, we can make improvement to our process. So we have to show the processes in the document, in the ISO document. So maybe one way is to use the flowchart, which I will explain in the later chapter. And improvement, our Kaizen, our continual improvement activity. As mentioned by Masaki Imai, that Kaizen is the everybody improvement, everywhere improvement, and everyday improvement. When we finish the improvement activity 3 months ago, we should think about new activity after that. The Kaizen activity never stopped. So we have to show our improvement. When we do the PDCA, after we done it, P plan, D done, D do, then we check, if we find out and there is a gap in the processes, we propose the alignment, the corrective action. So that's our improvement. Auditor want to see that the PDCA happens in our organization. Every plan that we make is not necessarily perfect. So they want to see the improvement, the alignment that we did. We have to report that. That's why you have to keep all the minutes of meeting. So every single discussion pertaining to the quality improvement that you make in your organization, it should be recorded in terms of the document. Or at least the discussion that you jot down on the whiteboard. Well, nowadays we have the digital whiteboard from the computer. We jot down that, then we PDF, keep in the file at least. During my time, when I work in the automotive industry, we use the whiteboard. Then after we write on the whiteboard, we can print from that whiteboard. So we have the paper. Those days, very hard to have computer like today. So we keep that in the file. So during audit, we can show this is our discussion about the improvement on the check side. And then on the act, we make the improvement. So we have to show the evidence as well. We have to show the improvement in terms of maybe reject. We want to reduce the defect. So from this suggestion, so compare. We have to show the comparison between the previous one and after we have improved. I went to one company. I cannot mention the name of the company in Shah Alam, a Japanese company. But PT, I don't know what happened. This is Japanese company, but they have problem. You imagine the overtime, annual overtime cost them 90 million ringgit. So they want to reduce the overtime. And I notice there are a lot of problems at the production line that makes their operator cannot fulfill the target within the specified working hour. So that's why they have to do overtime. But it's cost to the company. Overtime is a loss to the company. It's a cost. So we have to think about improvement. I have to do the process improvement in the production line. So everything I did, it should be documented. Because why? For this purpose, audit ISO, the auditor want to see that. Decision making, remember Dr. Deming said, I've mentioned many times, the decision must based on fact, not based on hearsay. Not make decision based on plucking the answer from the sky or from the ceiling. It should be evidence-based. So when you want to show your decision making, again, documentation is very important. It should be documented, and the data that you use to help you make decision should be analyzed, at least by using 7 quality tool, which I will teach you in the in 3rd or 4th week. And the last one, it should demonstrate the relationship management, the communication, the structure, change of command in your organization, and so forth. What is a process approach? Risk and so on is written here. This is the schematic representation of the element of a single process. So after finishing this chapter, I will show you on the voice of customer. So I will introduce you as supplier, I input, P process, or in this document they use activity, O output, what is the output, and C is the customer, or in this document they use receivers of the output, is customer. So I will cover that in the voice of customer. So in this section, I just show you in the process approach to deliver our process, we should demonstrate in our document, ISO document, for the audit purpose, this aspect, CPOC. So maybe we can use draw the CPOC diagram to show what is the input, output, process, input, output, and the customer. And this is about the PDCA that I've mentioned just now. If you look at this PDCA, there are input for this PDCA as well, customer requirement. So I go back to the parcel delivery case, customer requirement, they receive the parcel before 48 hours. So anything that prevent us to deliver what customer expect, their requirement, should be aligned in the PDCA cycle. Finally, we're able to fulfill their needs. But again, leadership is very important, because leadership is the one who should make sure this happens. This is the detail about PDCA and risk-based thinking. What is the risk-based thinking and so on. This is also on the PDCA. Again, we cannot run away from PDCA in the quality improvement. Then, what else? This is what we should show in the document, audit document. Besides, we explain on the organization context, needs, expectation of the customer, scope of the quality management. We should define the scope, the boundary for the quality management. What is our boundary, so that the auditor will aware, so that they will audit based on that only. Otherwise, they go to other things. So we have to define the scope clearly. when we want to define the scope, we have to explain the external and internal issues, requirement, interested parties, and what is the product or services in our company. And we have to show the processes as well, which is explained here, what are the processes involved to deliver our output. And the leadership is important. So we have to explain this, answer this, taking accountability, effectiveness, ensure the quality policy. So every single small item this should come with the answer. Customer focus. Customer and applicable statutory regulatory requirement are determined, understood, and consistent met. So how do we answer this? Risk opportunity can affect the conformity. So how do we answer this? So how do we do the risk assessment? Focus on enhancing customer satisfaction is maintained. How do we answer this? And so on. And this is our policy, communication, customer policy, and so on. This is the example of ISO 9001-2015 document. Basically, companies, if you want to be audited, you have to prepare a document. And this document that you have prepared, you have to submit to the body that going to do your audit to you, and then the auditor will do the audit based on the document that you have prepared.